Hello, Primals. Today I want to talk about spiritually leveling up. And you may be wondering why I'm wearing shades. I don't know why I'm wearing shades. I just thought they looked cool for a second. Anyway, with that being said, go ahead and press the like button or subscribe or comment on the video, and we'll go ahead and continue forward. So last night I had a dream where a voice said, "There's a lot of light to miss, and a lot that missed the light." And I wanted to talk about this dream because, well, I've had a lot of dreams about names and revealing of lights recently, and it's come to my attention that there's a lot of people that are wanting a kind of illumination in their life. And we have this natural ability as human beings to gravitate towards the light in people and in things. I mean, even we call people movie stars, right? Or we call them just like, oh, that person's glowing over there or whatnot. And it made me start thinking a lot about how just we are divine beings of light. And I know that sounds very corny, but it is true. And I also want to talk today about how you can use semen retention as a avenue for sexual transmutation and spiritually leveling up in your life. Something that I've noticed over the past 6 months or so of doing semen retention is that I have grown in my relationship to Jesus and the Most High for like the connection that I have is just so much more powerful, and it's so much more genuine, I think, as well. And it's also like a lot of the times people do semen retention for female attraction, and my purpose was to grow closer to God. And I don't think a lot of men understand, at least the ones that are at least trying semen retention for the first time. I don't think they understand a lot of the implications that this will have in their life and how really it will change your life. Because there are, like, the more you grow closer to God and the more you grow closer to your purpose, the more naturally things start to happen around you, and the easier time you have a connection to build with people, emotionally speaking and spiritually speaking. It's gotten to the point for me to where sometimes things are just so natural and things are just happening sometimes things just go my way for no reason whatsoever, it seems to me. Now, there are definitely days where I'm going through really rough times and my connection with God is not as strong, but remembering to use that condensed pain as an avenue for training for life is so important. And I think something that semen retention really helps a lot with is the ability to discern what really is worth your time. And that's another part of spiritually leveling up, right? Is that the more you level up, the more you see things that you need to let go of or that you need to try more of. And something that I've noticed recently is that, like, because things happen in the spiritual realm first before they happen in the physical realm, right? Things happen in the spiritual realm that transcend and have a ripple effect in the physical reality. And so sometimes the things that you do that hurt the most in the physical reality actually elevate you spiritually. And so there's almost like this wave of time that you have to ride in order to receive the blessings of the hardship. And this past month or two, actually really since about late October, there was a time where I had a lot of really difficult things going on where it wasn't like I was questioning my purpose per se, but it was just like, man, this is getting really tough. This is getting really hard to understand. And I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, like, that was the fact of the time, was like, yeah, I'm putting on my bootstraps and I'm going full force, even though there is no end in sight. I have to keep going. And that's part of really the scripture of walking by faith and not by sight has really helped me. And also there's a scripture in Romans that talks about faith comes by hearing and by hearing again. And that just goes to show that sometimes you're not going to know when the end is near. But it's in those times when you don't know the end is near is when you really know what you're most capable of. Because if you're capable of giving it your all and just reaching in to your soul to keep moving forward and to keep striving and to resist the temptations and to move forward even when it's the most dark, that's when true character strength and building is formed. And that's when your spiritual understanding of life is increased and you level up naturally. I've also noticed a tendency on semen retention where there's a lot of like demonic, it's like perfect timing. I don't know how exactly like the devil does it, but it's like, it's almost unfathomable how the physical reality puts obstacles in your spiritual conquests and your spiritual development. And you can just tell when it's like, oh, yep, that's something demonic that's trying to penetrate me. And you should be worried when the devil isn't trying to get you, right? Like, you should be worried because that means that you are serving the devil and you're not aiming toward the Most High. The Most High just wants you. This is something I've learned recently, especially with my dream that I had last night talking about the light. It said the Most High, Jesus, wants you to do your best. Remember, it's like giving your heart, mind, and soul, all of it. And what that really means is to not expect flawlessness, because it's just not going to happen. We're human beings and life is messy sometimes. But if we can give it our best shot always and never give up, that is what matters. That is the true meaning of inner strength and perseverance. And so when I see a lot of people that are doing semen retention that are just in it to get female attraction, I totally understand where they're coming from, because don't get me wrong, the attraction is, it's very real. And you wouldn't have been able to tell me that before I started retention, but it really is real. And like, people are, even men sometimes, it's really weird. Like, they'll look at you differently. Like, there's a side of men that I didn't even know existed until after I started doing semen retention. And it's like, they have a different kind of reverence for you. And I know, like, the people that are retaining know why. It's because you're able to discipline your sexual energy, which is one of the hardest things for men to do. And so men naturally have a reverence for discipline in other men, because men understand that. And I'm not saying women don't, but I'm saying that men have a different kind of thought process when it comes to discipline and ingenuity in that discipline. And with women, it's like they can smell it. Like, they can just smell. I don't know exactly how else to describe it, other they can just smell that you have a powerful aura and a powerful spiritual essence around you. And it's almost like whenever anybody enters my physical presence, it's like their walls come down, and which is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. I'm very grateful for that because I don't want to judge anybody. But it's also kind of like, wow, I can see right through your mask, man. Like it's like, or I can see right through your mask, woman. Like I know what you're thinking right now. I know what you're thinking. And I know what game you're playing. And it's funny because the women sometimes that I've talked to know that. Like they know that they don't want me to know. and then sometimes they're really masculine women, which just stay away from on semen retention. That's another thing is like I've noticed is that the higher I level up in semen retention and just in my spirituality, whenever I come into contact with a masculine woman, like a woman that is very aggressive, like there's an instantaneous reflex on her end just by being in my presence. I don't even have to say anything. Like, for example, I went to the store the other day and I was talking to one of the cash register people about some business and getting some business, and because I'm trying to work on a business right now, and so I'm networking, and I was asking like who I can talk to, and then one of the other ladies comes over and she's a very feminist person, we'll say that. Green hair, red hair, full makeup, like super tight leather outfit that just doesn't look good on an obese woman. And she comes over and she starts asking me if I'm like a fashion designer. And I said, no, I'm just a guy trying to spread a message. That's it. And she almost took offense to that. Like she took offense to what I said for, I don't really know why exactly, but I could tell that just by what I said really invoked some kind of demon in her, and she got pissed off and walked away really quickly, which I didn't like. Again, I still don't exactly know what triggered it, but I just, in the moment, my intuition was telling me that just my presence was bothering her. And I mean, because that's what happens, especially as a man on retention, because your testosterone increases, your like you have the capacity to build, destroy, create, love, but not fall in love. That's the key thing that I think has really changed my perspective of love and just spirituality in general for men over the past 6 months, is that if men, like, falling in love means to lose rational and logical thought. But as a man, if you lose that, you're no longer a man. That's very clear. That's very, very clear. If you lose your rational thought, then that means you're giving into chaos. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be orderly all the time or an authoritarian on yourself, but to make decisions that are analytically based, statistically based, data driven is the natural inclination of men, and men value that because it provides results. Now, I'm not saying that outcomes are the most important thing, but for spiritually leveling up as a man, it is very important to do things. And if you do not do things as a man, if you sometimes spiritual ascension requires action alone. And that is something that I think a lot of women that are very spiritual but new agey don't understand. Is that, like, you can do your tarot cards all day long, but if you're going to just sit there doing your tarot cards, you're going to be doing nothing other than just inviting negativity in your life, right? And this is something that I've talked about in a previous video with New Age and narcissism, where you can do tarot cards all day long, and you can study it. I do think this is something else. I do think that you can study different realms of spirituality. However, everything that we do eventually comes back to Christ. And I know that sounds, to people that are not Christian, that can sound dogmatic. However, I would argue that it is not, due to the proclivity of spiritual development in itself. Everything that we do is coming back to who we are, right? Who we are as a self. And as we are connected with God, so we are connected into the world. But we are not of the world. We are of God, which makes spiritual leveling up very difficult to obey, because that's a big thing, right? Is being obedient to God, and being obedient in the sense that there's more value to the obedience than to the outcome of the obedience. That is the most challenging thing. And with semen retention, one of the biggest temptations is lust. And this is something that I responded to a comment in a video a long time ago, that somebody just watched the video and they asked me a question, and I responded with this, was that for men on semen retention, it doesn't get any easier, I would say, to resist temptation, but the purpose in life becomes more important. And that purpose is living with the Spirit of Christ in your heart, and to give willingly yourself and your essence to those who are willing to listen. Because, I mean, even in the Bible it says, he that hath an ear, let him hear. Those that don't want to hear you aren't going to hear you. And that's just a fact. So, really, this is something else that I've noticed on semen retention and just spiritual leveling up, is that right when you're doing the hardest things that you're committing to in your spiritual practice, after that hardship is when all the blessings come. And you just have to keep going and trust yourself, as difficult as it may be, and as tempting as it is to give into the temptations. But he who flees from sin is the one that wins, in the words of Padre Pio. So, with that being said, I hope this message was useful and informative. And till next time, may peace be with you.